Can a man be happy in a sexless marriage? And the answer is yes, if he is respected. If his wife respects him and appreciates what he provides, and also fosters respect for him from the children and from the community at large. That's how powerful that is for a man, to feel like he is providing something that is appreciated, that is received, that is acknowledged. That is more valuable than sex, believe it or not. Now, I think oftentimes you'll hear men complain about being in a sexless marriage. Well, it was sexless and therefore that's why I cheated and all that, a lot of excuse making for why it dissolved or fell apart because of the lack of sex. But you know what? I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's really what it is. Because I think if that man had respect, appreciation by his family, that man felt like when he came home, he was returning to his home. And he wasn't treated like a foreigner in his own home. I think if a man had that, he wouldn't need the sex. What does happily ever after mean in modernity? What does it look like? I think there's really only one way in which you achieve a happily ever after. And that is if you allow the relationship to go through stages of evolution and you're both synchronized with each of those stages. So for example, at the very beginning, it may be very hot and heavy and very sexual and very titillating and romantic and exciting, and you're both being in sync during that time in that way is great, and it produces children. Well, then there's a leveling up that needs to occur on both people, where it's no longer about that intense chemistry, and it's more about creating a home, raising a family, and her presenting him as the father, and him presenting her as the mother to the children, and each encouraging each other in that role, right? And hopefully, in the process of this leveling up, a level of intimacy grows between the man and the woman, and they become really true advocates for each other, true advocates, and on each other's side, a kind of loyalty that it goes beyond sexual loyalty, and a loyalty that is we're on the same team kind of thing. And you become your best friends and your best confidants. And you have each other's back, especially as the kids start to grow up and become teenagers or late teenagers, You don't have a relationship where one child can leverage one parent over the other, right? Or worse yet, a parent uses the children against the other. I've seen this happen for some of my male friends, where the mom will kind of ally herself with the kids and make the dad the bad guy, that kind of a thing. No, you are really truly bonded, and you're a team, and you become a team almost, even if the child sets itself against one of the parents, the other parent is there with the other parent, holding the line and establishing the boundary. These are the boundaries. And eventually that pressure of the rebelliousness of the late teen, young adult child becomes such that the child feels motivated and encouraged to want to go off and venture on their own and individuate and fully become the person they want to be, that they feel their parents is not allowing them to be, you know? There has to be that healthy boundary. And both parents have to be of the same mind. It's an unbreakable bond. So unbreakable that even the child can't break it. And then the children leave and you level up yet again. The couple levels up again. Because they were so strong and together during that, now they're able to get to a whole other level of being there for each other as they approach their senior years. That's what happily ever after actually looks like. And it necessitates evolution and necessitates change, a constant leveling up, but always being on the same page. Yet oftentimes either the man or the woman thinks that they can be in a relationship and also kind of go their own way. Have their own sort of idea of life. Never works. And if it does, it's only because one of the two is just sticking with it and suffering. And sometimes I witness the woman being the one that's suffering through the man's just sort of selfish, narcissistic views. Most, maybe it's because a lot of my male friends confide a lot in me. Most of my experience of what I've witnessed has been the other way around. Men who are suffering through very entitled female partners. But it happens in both ways. It happens both ways. And you just can't, you'll never have a happily ever after if you're of the mindset that it's about you. No, it's about the two of you. And you both have to be on the same page. You both have to be leveling up. Both have to be adapting to the circumstances that you are going through as a couple. And yes, sexlessness for men is a problem. Because libido wanes very quickly. Well, I don't know if it's libido necessarily, but I think a woman's sexual interest in her man wanes very quickly. Wanes very quickly. Whereas a man can remain sexually interested in his woman forever, really, if she, doesn't poison pill that part of their relationship by disrespecting him, rolling her eyes at everything he says, and thinking of him like a child or treating him like a child, Oftentimes when couples come together after the hot and heavy phase, it doesn't evolve, it devolves into a parent-child relationship sometimes. And I've seen both, where the wife becomes the mother, or sometimes the husband becomes the father and she becomes the child. It really depends on their own individual traumas and hang-ups and a kind of chosen helplessness that one or the other falls into, a kind of pattern of letting go and just taking a back seat and letting themselves revert to an earlier role in their childhood. But no, in order for it not to devolve, both have to be active participants. I've even seen things where both want to be active participants, but one of them actually doesn't want the other person to be an active participant. And because they kind of want to own everything, you know, they want to be the one in charge. She doesn't want him to be involved in the life of the children. She wants to dominate everything having to do with the life of the children, and keeps him sort of like in the dark of a lot of those things. Which I think oftentimes stems from a sort of insecurity about the future. I think a lot of women have way more insecurity about the future than men do, in the sense that they kind of sometimes, when they come from a place of fear, when they bring their fear into the relationship, they plan for the eventual dissolution of the relationship. And I see women often using the children as a form of leverage for that eventuality. And consequently, they sow the seeds of disrespect for the father very early on. Long before the relationship dissolves, the mother is sowing the seeds of distrust and not relying on the dad, and painting a picture of him being someone you just can't count on, even when the relationship is totally fine. So, you know, each gender has their own hang-ups. I've talked about this before. Women bring their fear. Men bring their sense of disposability. Women have been subjected to traumas associated that bring about fear, and men have been subjected to traumas that bring about a sense of just worthlessness and disposability. Both of which feed into each other perfectly to create a toxic dynamic. A perfectly toxic dynamic. And that's why self-awareness, personal growth, and philosophy and learning how to think clearly and rationally are so valuable and so important, I believe, in the area of love and romance. But it seems that one easy little hack is kind of in the hands of the woman in a way, in that if she just makes him feel valued, like what he is providing is valuable, and that she really appreciates it, and she honors and respects that. And it would really go a long way is if, when you're with friends or with family, that you actually vocalize that to others, not just to him, but to others, and he hears it and he sees that you are honoring him even to other people. Because I have also seen partners that say nice things to each other, but then behind their back, they say really backstabby things, So yeah, unless you're both on the same team, you won't have a happily ever after. Bottom line. You gotta be on the same team. It's not about sex. It's not about lifestyle and money and any of that stuff. At least for men anyway. I'm speaking from a man's point of view. You have to be on the same team. And have an absolute trust and bond that would even hold itself together against your own children. Because the children will rebel. Eventually they rebel. And that's normal. It's natural. They want to separate from you. They want to go off and venture. But oftentimes one of the parents decides to ally themselves with the child instead of their husband or wife. Which is wild. And that's a profound betrayal. So, unless you have a bond, there is no happily ever after. Try to become each other's best friend. And have each other's back. That is the secret ingredient to a long and lasting and loving relationship. Let me know what you think in the comments.